No place on earth is safe from terrorism. We are now living in an age of terrorism. With an unprecedented refugee situation, Europe is also experiencing division, despite efforts in trying to unite before. This is due largely to opposing views on how to solve the refugee crisis.
It means taking the opportunity of this great moment of national change.
Tensions are rising in Asia, especially in East Asia, due to the North Korean nuclear threat. China, North Korea, South Korea, and the US are in strong opposition concerning the launching of THAAD missiles. The United Nations, which was established over 70 years ago at the end of the Second World War, still continues to face a multitude of challenges. The need for peace is greater now more than ever. There is a group of individuals who have come forward to accomplish that which the UN has not been able to do. They are creating a new peace organization.
The United Nations works country by country. We want to work through people, through the parliamentarians around the world.
The International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace is an organization centered on world peace. I believe that parliamentarians play an important role in conveying the values of peace, prosperity, harmony, love, and reconciliation.
Our aim should be to create peace not only in the Middle East, in Europe, in Africa, but also on the Korean Peninsula.
This peace organization is a body of parliamentarians from all over the world called the International Associations of Parliamentarians for Peace. The IAPP is a project of the UPF, and it is a vast and diverse network of parliamentarians from around the world transcending nationality, race, culture, and religion. Can this group truly resolve the strife and conflict of nations around the world and bring about peace? What is their vision of world peace? On February 2nd, the IAPP International Leadership Conference was held at the National Assembly Hall of South Korea. The large-scale conference included 450 parliamentarians from 113 nations.
So let's do everything we can.
They have gathered here to address the global issues that threaten humanity, such as religious and territorial conflicts, violent extremism, poverty and starvation, climate change, and environmental issues. The parliamentarians gave presentations on the topic, the vision and role of the IAPP in overcoming the Northeast Asian crisis and establishing peace and unity on the Korean Peninsula. Challenges and threats in various sectors, including disputes, terrorism, climate change, religious discrimination, etc., are becoming prevalent all over the world. I hope all of you can lead the way to the realization of a peaceful global community through the parliaments of each nation. The parliamentarians expressed a strong determination to promote peace and unification on the Korean Peninsula. They promised to rise above their own nation's interests and consider the situation of the world for the sake of humanity and world peace.
Please come and see us. Please touch base with us. I'm on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I'm on the NATO Committee. And our goal is to unite people around the world, no matter where they come from, no matter what the color of their skin.
We need topics such as the topic of peace, which is for the benefit of people, not only a particular nation, but nations of the world.
Peace is one of the greatest achievements that humanity can have. I believe that if we pursue peace enough, that we can cause it to happen, as opposed to always having military might as our what's on our mind. But peaceful coexistence is good for the whole world.
What will take place when the parliamentarians of hostile nations meet at the IAPP gathering? The parliamentarians of neighboring Central American countries, Nicaragua and Costa Rica, come together during this time. These two nations share a border and have endured 200 years of ceaseless territorial conflict, resulting in hostile relations. However, the parliamentarians of these two nations met through IAPP and extended their hands to each other, promoting harmony and reconciliation. We will keep the promise we made yesterday at the Korean National Assembly Hall to promote peace. Through meeting people of other nations, we have come to believe that the regional conflict between Costa Rica and Nicaragua will no longer exist. This experience allowed us to learn of similar situations in other countries and bring a positive change to the relationship that has deteriorated due to this border dispute. How was something like this possible? It has been almost a year since this incredible beginning. On February 15, 2016, 150 current and former parliamentarians from 42 nations gathered in Seoul for the International Leadership Conference. It was then that Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon delivered a message through Sun Jin-moon, chairwoman of the Universal Peace Federation, proposing the organization of the IAPP to parliamentarians around the world.
If parliamentarians of the world join together in harmony and cooperation for the sake of peace, we can transform this current reality of our world, creating a world of joy, harmony, and lasting peace.
The parliamentarians at the conference participated in the IAPP initiation ceremony and resolved to participate in the establishment of world peace. From there, the IAPP began to expand throughout the world. This is Nepal, land of the Himalayas and the home of Buddha. A group of young girls from Korea arrive in a place constantly visited by tourists. They are the Little Angels, who are every bit as popular as a K-pop girl group. Everywhere they went, the Little Angels performance group was greeted enthusiastically and treated with warm hospitality. They offered an impressive performance of Korea's traditions and culture. The Little Angels' performance was reported in the local newspaper and broadcast daily, garnering great interest. There were also VIPs in the audience, including politicians from the Asia-Pacific region that had come to Nepal to attend the International Leadership Conference. The politicians that participated in the International Leadership Conference declared the establishment of a new organization.
I think that is very excellent, which is very timely and which is needed.
I think it's a very good move and a very important step towards realizing global peace.
It was an excellent seminar. I think it's incredible that in the midst of global conflict between ethnicities and religions, people of different religions and ethnicities can gather together and have this sort of seminar. The desire for peace in the Asia-Pacific region accumulated in the official launch of the IAPP in the Asia-Pacific region. The International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace is one part of the vision of Reverend Sun Myung-moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon in order to establish world peace. Why is the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace needed? The International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace is a consultative group of parliamentarians from all over the world. Of course, the UN is an international organization that is working to resolve many global issues. But the UN ultimately represents the nation's interests, and there are limitations to the strength and influence of the Permanent Security Council members. However, I believe that the issues that the UN cannot resolve can be addressed by nearby parliamentarians through candid meetings, transcending national borders. Beginning with the Asia-Pacific region, these parliamentarians from around the world expressed their desire to launch the IAPP on each continent.
launching in Kathmandu, and next week and the next couple of weeks launching in East Africa, West Africa, and North Africa. And after West Africa and North Africa, launching in the Caribbean and in South America. Finally, we will have a meeting in Washington, D.C.
1 month later, parliamentarians gathered in Africa. The African continent is riddled with impoverished areas, endless droughts, and tribal conflicts, etc., that must be resolved before peace can take root. Because the African continent is so large and the countries are close together, it is difficult to point out the specific issues of each country. The parliamentarians of West Africa met in Burkina Faso. Just 8 months prior to this meeting, a bombing occurred at this location, which was considered a safe part of West Africa. At least 29 people were killed and 50 others sustained injuries. I think that terrorism is the most dangerous threat. You could also say that the level of poverty is an imminent threat. The impoverished population is one of the many factors that make Burkina Faso dangerous. This is a problem all over the world. It is especially a problem for new countries, and it occurs a lot in Africa. In order to understand the dangers around us, we must understand the issues we are dealing with. We must think about what the most pressing matter is. The meeting was not suspended despite the dangers of terrorism. The West African IAPP was launched successfully at the Burkina Faso National Assembly Hall. Guinea's main conflicts are its political instability and social inequality. This factor threatens peace in many underdeveloped African countries. So, what we hope for, first and foremost, is political stability. We want progress for all and strive for development that won't exclude anyone. We want all citizens to have an equal standard of living so that we can grow together. The African people are fighting this current threat to peace. Terrorist attacks are expanding across the African region. We cannot assume that terrorism doesn't exist in our country and just ignore it. We must think of our neighbors. Our own country may also be terrorized at any moment. The number of terrorists and racists are increasing, and these types of people exist in all countries. Even in Mali, terrorism is becoming a big problem. The East African chapter of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace was launched in Zambia. East African parliamentarians gained hope that their difficulties could be overcome through dialogue with each other. They also determined to raise the awareness of the necessity of peace.
And if we all work together towards peace, genuinely got to love each other, put away the tribal sentiments and elements, we can unify, we can build. It is not far-fetched, it is true. We can do it.
The next destination is London, England, in Europe. The British Parliament has been called the mother of all parliaments. This was the venue for the International Leadership Conference and served as the meeting place for parliamentarians from Europe, Eurasia, and the Middle East and North Africa. 150 parliamentarians and religious figures from 40 nations gathered here. Dr. Hak Jahan Moon appealed to the parliamentarians of the world to participate in movements for peace.
You are entrusted with the peoples and a great responsibility. If parliamentarians around the world join together in harmony, cooperation, for the sake of peace, we can transform our current reality of our world and create a world of joy, harmony, and lasting peace.
The participants became members of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace and pledged to work together.
We must tell one question. We would like to have a war culture or peace culture.
I think that everybody here is united in that we should have peace. actually makes leaders from around the world, from different parliaments, from different zones of the world to come and discuss what is not very popular to discuss today, and this is peace. I really hope that we will make the right ties and we will be able to explain other parliamentarians our reality in Israel, the reality of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the Middle East, and that together we will think about ways to strengthen the idea of peace.
The next destination is Costa Rica in Central America. Costa Rica, named for its rich coast, is also known as a demilitarized neutral zone. Parliamentarians from around the world gathered at the National Assembly Hall of this country, which stands as a symbol of peace. I enjoy the topic of climate change because I saw climate change as a program to eradicate poverty. It became an important issue and topic. We must work together to protect the environment through public programs. We must resolve the issue in order to live peacefully. The biggest problem in Mexico and Central America is criminal organization and corruption. If there were no corruption, the Central American region would be better controlled, and there would be less need for punishment. I am very proud of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace. We understand that we all have different languages and cultures, but that we are all the same. We are all thinking about peace. Because each country faces a different situation, it is no surprise that the parliamentarians are interested in different topics. But because peace is the shared purpose and goal, they are able to work together. In order to come to a greater understanding and uphold the dignity of different parts of the world, we must learn to respect our differences. For the sake of peace in our lives, all actions must be taken together in solidarity. In order to achieve world peace, peace must be understood as a public benefit. Upon the foundation of having acknowledged their differences, the parliamentarians formed collaborative relationships and resolved to bring about peace. In this way, the IAPP was successfully launched in the Central American region. Parliamentarians of the South American region gathered in Asunción, the heart of South America and the capital of Paraguay. At the International Leadership Conference, the parliamentarians discussed solutions to the current problems in South America that are getting in the way of peace. South America is suffering from various issues including corruption, a food crisis, natural disasters, etc., all of which are preventing peace from taking root. South America also has plenty of issues related to peace. If you look at the news today, you'll see that Colombia and Venezuela have serious problems when it comes to peace. So, in the same way that we grow trees or plants, we need to create a proper environment and atmosphere to pursue peace. That's why the role of parliamentarians is so important. The Parliament of Paraguay awarded Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon with a special Peace Achievement Award in honor of the peaceful community of human beings and nature that they created in South America.
I am inspired to observe the enthusiastic response that is coming from every corner of the world. I know my late father, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, must be very pleased, and I'm sure my mother, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, is as well.
The South American parliamentarians determined to carry on Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon's peace movement and participate in the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace. We are very excited to be carrying out these activities around the world. We created a network of South American parliamentarians today, and we hope to expand this to the rest of the world. A group of parliamentarians also gathered in Japan. A large number of parliamentarians participated in the International Leadership Conference in Japan, There, they discussed the launch of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace and took part in stimulating dialogue. The launch of the IAPP in North America took place in the U.S. capital of Washington, D.C. at the Senate Office Building. Approximately 500 politicians from 56 nations, including President pro tempore of the U.S. Senate, Orrin Hatch, U.S. Congressman Matt Salmon and Danny Davis, former U.S. Congressman Dan Burton, former Chairman of the National Assembly of the Philippines, Jose de Venecia Jr., and former Prime Minister of Nepal, Madhav Kumar Nepal, etc., gathered for the occasion.
I think people view this as an opportunity maybe to start a new chapter and to strengthen the good ties that we have and include others in it perhaps that want to be part of it.
Senator Orrin Hatch, who has been a part of the U.S. Senate since 1977, has been actively supporting the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace.
Dr. Moon is truly an amazing woman, one that I deeply respect. She's a champion of peace and someone who I hope will have a lasting impact for years to come.
Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon emphasized the responsibilities and roles of the parliamentarians during her main speech.
세계에서 오신 의원님들은 책임이 막중합니다. 여러분들이 중요합니다.
Over a period of 6 months, the IAPP was launched in each continent, beginning with Asia and Africa, and expanding to Europe and the Americas, bringing politicians of different nationalities, races, cultures, and understandings together in one place, and creating an organization that unites them is no easy task. How was this possible? I think the Association of Parliamentarians is made up of many members of the various other organizations that Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon established in the past. This is a very critical effort for the sake of world peace.
They realized a long time ago that the only way to protect the world, the environment, and everything else was to have people work together for peace. And the organization, the people that support it, have done an outstanding job. When we were in Washington, we met with Senator Hatch and members of the United States Senate and the House, and we explained very broadly how important legislators for peace around the world is. And so we think that was a great step.
They officially began their movement for world peace with the start of their 1965 world tour. As they traveled around the world, they preached the values of family and peace and met with leaders and key figures from different countries.
I, the first time, met the Reverend Moon and the wife in 2005 in Albania, as at the time I'd be the president of the country, and to discuss about the main problems, UPF, and after that in our country was organized a very good work from the people who are working now in UPF of Albania. And to be honest, I can say that I supported very much the main ideas.
They had even met with President Gorbachev of the Soviet Union and Premier Kim Il-sung of North Korea to discuss world peace. Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon's work for peace transcended religion and race, deeply moving the hearts of people around the world. They broke down the barriers of nationality, religion, and ideology to bring humanity together as one family through this global peace movement. They also worked to enhance the role of the UN as the center of a movement for peace. Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon established the movement of a world of lasting peace as God's will and worked to realize it. One of their greatest desires was that the UN, which was established after the Second World War to regulate international conflict, would fulfill its original function and purpose. However, they realized the limitations of the UN as well as the importance of activities in the private sector and created new peace organizations. Among these, are the World Media Conference, Professors World Peace Academy, Women's Federation for World Peace, Youth Federation of World Peace, etc.
Various non-governmental organizations have been set up over the years that are addressing issues that are associated with the work of academics or with government leaders or faith-based leaders, persons in the arts or civil society or even the private sector. How to reach each of those sectors and try to apply core values and principles that can be manifest in those sectors and therefore work to change the world.
Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon visited 120 nations in 2005, emphasizing the importance of solidarity. From September to December of that year, they inaugurated the Universal Peace Federation in 120 nations.
영원한 평화 세계의 실현을 위해 기존 유엔의 갱신과 더불어 새로운 차원에서 새로운 국제기구의 창설을 전 인류 앞에 선포하는 바입니다.
The Universal Peace Federation, founded by Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, is in special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the UN and works to expand its interreligious peace movement to the rest of the world.
What I've noticed, the activities of UPF in the UK, a very strong focus on bringing together religious leaders from different faiths and indeed people of no faith to work together on significant issues. So what we will see, for instance, now are discussions around how to overcome extremism.
Beginning with the International Leadership Conference, 10,000 other international conferences took place around the world promoting the necessity of a peace movement. There was not a single politician or religious leader that Reverend Sun Myung Moon did not meet. He met everyone and reached a mutual understanding with everyone. The Environment and Foundation for Peace was developed in this way, but there was a pressing need to overcome the limitations preventing NGOs from bringing substantial results.
We are confronted with serious.
The International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace was born for this very purpose, to rise above these limitations. The IAPP is composed of 2,000 parliamentarians from 140 nations around the world. How is this organization different from other peace movements? And how can it resolve the numerous issues that have left nations pitted against one another? Climate change is one of the serious problems that threaten the peace and survival of humanity. What kind of solution could the IAPP have for this issue?
타락한 인간들의 욕심과 무분별 무식한 소치가 자연을 파괴하고 있습니다. 오늘날 전 세계에서 벌어지고 있는 기후 문제, 여러분들이 각 분야에서 자연 세계를 치유해야 되겠습니다.
Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon has emphasized the need to solve the issues related to climate change in order to achieve sustainable peace. The Sunhak Peace Prize Committee selected Kiribati President Anate Tong to receive the 2015 Sunhak Peace Prize. Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon's efforts in this area have reminded the world of the gravity of climate change as well as the need for a solution. This resulted in climate change being an important focus of the IAPP International Leadership Conference in the Asia-Pacific region. The critical situation of the Marshall Islands and the Kiribati were presented as examples of countries that are losing their land and struggling to survive because of climate change. The parliamentarians discussed possible solutions together.
Not just in the small island countries like the Marshall Islands, but it's important that we make some of the most developed countries and big developing countries in the world.
I truly hope that this will spread not only within the countries involved here, but also beyond to the rest of the world and within our own parliaments, within our own nations.
The African parliamentarians understand better than anyone about the magnitude of climate change. I gave a presentation on the topic of climate change. At the end of my presentation, I said that we need sponsors for our descendants because climate change is such a serious topic. Parliamentarians must participate and work together with not only the government, but also other organizations. The African continent is one of the regions most affected by climate change. Last year, an unprecedented heat wave hit several areas around the world. Alaska's temperature rose by 30 degrees, and the entire world seemed to have a fever.
Climate change also affects economies as well, because countries that have problems with drought, there are countries that have problems with too much water. So you have flooding, and then you have countries that don't have enough water. Also, the crops are being affected. So then you have the challenge of food availability.
In East Africa, where 70% of the population engages in farming, climate change has caused a never-ending drought that threatens the livelihood of the people.
Offices in New York, Geneva, Vienna, and
the IAPP in East Africa adopted a resolution with a joint response to issues caused by climate change. The IAPP has recently begun to deal with the serious issues of refugee crisis and terrorism. The former Kosovo president recounted Kosovo's history and the horrible civil war that resulted in a large number of refugees. He said that peace cannot exist without a solution to the refugee crisis.
Unfortunately, we passed the conflict's time. Very terrible war, very bloody war, because we were destroyed, or it was the wish of aggressor from Serbian parts to destroy everything in Kosovo, to kill the people, and also we have a very huge number of refugees out of the country, the half of the population, more of 1 million.
The refugee crisis, which struck Europe hard last year, has become a priority issue for the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace and a topic of intense discussion. Dr. Hak Jahan Moon has also identified the refugee crisis as an impending issue that threatens the peace and survival of all of humankind. The Sunhak Peace Prize Committee selected 2 individuals who have contributed toward assisting and protecting the rights of refugees as co-laureates for the 2nd Sunhak Peace Prize in 2017. Dr. Strada has carried out medical treatments activities in conflict-ridden areas all over the world. Dr. Yakubi has devoted her life to providing education to refugees. This award serves as a reminder of the importance of peace. Something incredible occurred with the IAPP as they searched for solutions to terrorism and the refugee crisis. As politicians from nations in direct conflict with one another gathered around the world and began to engage in dialogue, part of a solution emerged.
I'd love to think it could solve it. I think what it is more likely to be able to do is to bring together people who have expertise and to promote their ideas, demonstrate that in other conflicts things have been resolved.
I heard ideas from many people, not from the Middle East, about what we should do with the Middle East. So the exchange of ideas and to strengthen each other toward the mission of peace, which is not a very popular mission to deal with today. This is maybe one of the high points and strong points of this conference. To make people understand the Israeli-Palestinian issue and cause, to suggest them to help us how to solve.
Even now, the gunfire of terrorism is never-ending, and the lives of refugees are being threatened. However, they are searching for hope and alternative solutions to these issues. The current situation in Syria is like blood clotting in the body. In order to resolve this situation and protect the rights of the Syrian citizens, the international society, and politicians around the world, including the Arab nations, must raise their voices.
أن يوقفوا الدم في سوريا وأن يوقفوا توريد السلاح إلى سوريا.
Is it possible to find a solution to the North Korean nuclear crisis that threatens the Korean Peninsula? North Korea is also a hot topic for the IAPP. At the IAPP launching ceremony in North America, the parliamentarians treated the North Korea issue as an important item. What kind of recommendations did the parliamentarians come up with?
Just having the gathering of 54 countries, the leaders from the 54 countries, is indicative of their interest in resolving issues like the North Korean nuclear issue. I'm sure Pyongyang will read that, they will see that, and will it influence them? I'm hoping that it does influence them. So just having this session is powerful. I think the United States needs to have exploratory talks with leaders in North Korea, diplomats, it could be the foreign minister, the vice foreign minister, what have you, formal talks to explore the possibility of coming back to the six-party process.
North Korea could feed a great deal of Asia. They have fertile agricultural possibilities, but they need rural electric power and modern farming techniques. If we could somehow reach North Korea with these alternative methods, rather than force, but through diplomacy and trade, open up the nation, it's possible to achieve peace without war. And I think that's what this panel was discussing this morning, which is very critical and very essential to find an alternative path to peace in Northeast Asia.
On these bases, parliamentarians from 113 countries who attended the launching ceremony of the IAPP in Korea have adopted the Seoul Declaration in order to actively cooperate in realizing peace in Northeast Asia through solving the North Korean nuclear issue. The parliamentarians didn't stop at sharing and discussing. They also resolved to take action in the name of peace. They resolved to find solutions to the problems of the world, including the spread of nuclear arms that threatens the existence and development of humankind, religious conflicts, racial conflicts, climate change, violent extremism, poverty, and starvation. On February 4th, 2017, the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace held its World Assembly in Seoul. 800 politicians from 120 nations gathered for the event. At the World Assembly, the IAPP appointed the co-chairman and 13 continental chairmen with the intention to expand and increase the impact of the activities on each continent.
The importance of world peace is without it, we will not survive. Then the world will not survive until we reach peace. Number one, IAPP is so important because this is an organization that is working around the world together with legislators to solve that problem.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, fellow parliamentarians from all over the world, let us make peace. Let us mobilize UPF. Let us mobilize the parliamentarians for peace so that we can bring peace to the world, to our planet, and in our time.
The International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace is the fruit of the international peace movement that Reverend Sung Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon have led for over 50 years, and the beginning of a new chapter of the global peace movement. Now, all that's left is to work toward overcoming the critical issues that threaten global peace and establish a world of lasting peace.
I urge all member of parliament from all over the world, if you are invited to this kind of thing, please come. It is a marvelous conference, and I think it is an amalgamation of all mind, and that will give us certainly the drive for a world peace.
Peace is one, how to say, in this essence, the whole with the whole elements of humanity, with the all elements for the cooperation between the peoples, the whole element to open the door for the development.
My message to my fellow parliamentarians is we belong to one family. There may be little differences among the members of the family, but we can resolve it, drawing inspiration from Father Moon, the unification of mankind.
Want peace. It's good for them. It's very important for us because we believe all people are one family under God.